Good morning, folks. Morning or afternoon, depending on the time that you're listening to this on. As usual, I'm just making sure we're good on all the platforms. Facebook, we are good. Let me just share it out. And let's go on LinkedIn real quick. And then we'll get it going. Yes. All right, LinkedIn, we're good. And let me repost it real quick. Top 5. It is a Top 5 Tuesday. God, I woke up another morning. Woke up this morning. Somebody did. Another morning. Woke up this morning. All right, here we go. We're back. We are back. Top 5, another Top 5 Tuesday, Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time you may be tuning into this. For any newcomers in here, let me just introduce myself really quick. My name, Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator, soon to be 6-time published author, by the way. And what I do, what I've created, what the whole Move Swiftly movement, the business is all about, is taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and organizations. So they have a staff, a group of employees that moves as efficiently, has that same hunger as a championship high school or youth football team. That's what we do around here in the Move Swiftly world. And today, as always, on Top 5 Tuesday, we break down we basically how the themes get thought of. I usually come up with the theme by no later than the Friday of the previous week. And because of a lot of things that was going on in these schools. So I teach at this school named the Center for Creative Education. And a lot of, whether it's based on kind of sports, politics, business, and education, and some of the things that I'm actually living through, some of the current events. I'll pick my topic based on what I was living through or what was going on in the world, some major events. And this week's theme, we're talking systemizing and making sure everything is moving in a system. So yesterday I talked a little bit about what system connects with your business the best. And now we're going to get into the top 5 ways of systematizing your business. And this is incredibly important because, again, as I mentioned yesterday, you don't do it by yourself. There's not one individual. I don't care how successful the individual is. There's not one individual who's been able to just do it on their own. They've been able to adopt, they've been able to develop, they've been able to learn enough to where they can take a system and allow that system to work, to do the work for them, to be working harder for them. All right. So we're going to dive into the top 5 ways of systematizing your business. Again, your one and only Swiftly speaker has lived through it, has had some experiences in this, and I'll be talking about all 5 ways as the article just dropped. So I'll be, referencing the article as I walk you through all of the 5 parts of this entire thing, because it is a process, and it's a process that you have got to make sure you come to embrace, and you got to really chase and latch on to the process of success and not be thinking so much about the outcome and things of that nature. All right. So before we get too into the topic today, let me just get through a few announcements really quick, and then we will go from there. First and foremost, West Palm Beach. Hold on one second. My phone is not charging. Let me do something really quick. So yeah, let's get that situation situated. All right, West Palm Beach. If you are interested in free boxing lessons, I put those on every 2 weeks. If you're looking at this via YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, just hit the QR code that you see right there on the screen. If you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, just go to freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. That's freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. livestream.com. Next thing, business owners, as I've mentioned, I'm here to serve you, here to. How's this thing doing this? Hold on. Let me get this technology thing rolling because it's starting to get on my nerves now. Let me. Battery low, battery low, no. All right. All right, here we go. Yes, West Palm. Excuse me. Yeah, free boxing, free guide. My bad. I was dealing with. So what I try to do is I try to make sure I have me looking at the recording through my phone, and I'm making sure I'm looking at the computer screen. So that way I'm making sure everything is running copacetically. That's just what you got to do. What I've been learning as I've been watching other content creators and how they've been able to develop their thing. It's like, okay, I got to make sure I'm doing that. So forgive me for that little pause there. But anyway, for second announcement, free guide for you business owners out there. If you have not yet, if you're sick and tired of dealing with turnover, if you're sick and tired of constantly replacing your staff, if you want your retention, talking about your employee retention rates, if you want those rates to increase, the retention rates to increase and the turnover rates to go down, I need you to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is freeguide.makeyourmove.com. There's a 10-step process, 10 bullet points in which you could be utilizing right now to make it so your staff is moving with cohesion and you're operating in a way in which are going to keep people around. All right. Finally, Patreon. Be sure to tap into the Patreon link. That's patreon.com/as144. And all of this is available on makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. Again, if you're looking at this via visually or YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you see, you can shop there. You can join the Patreon. You can book me to speak, or you can simply learn more about Aswan Crookshank, or listen to another one of those incredible podcast episodes on the #1 podcast for innovative teamwork, named the Move Swiftly podcast. All right. Now, as far as systematizing your business, like I mentioned, all right, the systems that you have are so incredibly important. All right, it's so incredibly important. And it's important because it takes a great deal of hard work. It takes a great deal of, it's very taxing on your mindset. It's one of those things where you have got to, it shows, it's the test. It actually is the test. Just like when you're in school and they give you a test, this is actually the life test. A lot of you guys thought that learning was going to stop when school ended. No, life actually starts when school ends. Life actually starts when you officially are done with it and you say, look, I'm gonna go out and get this money on my own. Now the test comes. Can you go out and create your own system? Can you go out and make things happen on your own? And what has to happen, what you've got to do, is you have got to make sure you are, first of all, believing in a bigger outcome. All right, believing in a bigger outcome as you embark on this. So without further ado, let's just get right into the list. First things first is you gotta, right here, fail early, often, and without shame. Fail early, often, and without shame. So what I'll do is, as usual, I have an article that just dropped that documents this whole thing, in which I break down this whole thing in the written format. So there we go. In the written format, and I'll let it play. And then as it's playing, I will obviously, kind of interject a little bit. But again, I strongly recommend you go read the article fully. But because it's, because we're here in the live stream, I'll have it broken down into 5 segments here, and then we'll go over each of them. So let me let it play, and then we'll go from there. Let's see. There we go.
Top 5 ways to systematize your business, even if it feels like it's falling apart. Another Top 5 Tuesday, and this one's deeply personal. If you followed my journey online or know me beyond the surface, you already know I don't shy away from transparency. I've taken some hits, real ones. Business setbacks, public embarrassment, moments where quitting seemed like a reasonable option.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, I wouldn't trade a single one of those rough seasons. Because without them, the systems I now live by wouldn't exist.
Yep.
So today, I'm walking you through the top 5 ways to systematize your business, not from a whiteboard or a webinar, but from the front lines of real, messy, trial by fire experience. 1. Fail early, often, and without shame. Failure is not optional, it's the gateway. At 25, I lost everything in Ocean City, Maryland. I had this dream of launching a minor league football team called the Ocean City Sharks. I joined the local chamber, secured a stadium at Humes, and went all in. Literally. I ended up broke, sleeping in my car, and eventually had that car repossessed. My credit, gone. My reputation in the football world, damaged. And yet, I still keep the email address oxsharks44@gmail.com active. A reminder of where I started and how far I've come. Failure taught me to stop thinking small, and that painful lesson built the foundation for the systems I now trust.
All right, let me pause that one there because I got to make sure I address that to give you guys some real context. So coming out of college in 2010, my goal was to work for an NFL team. I wanted to be, I felt like that was the career I was pursuing. Seeing that I played football for so long and, being a part of the things that I was a part of, I'm like, being in the NFL is the only logical thing. So I set a goal to be working for an NFL team before the age of 30, right? Or actually, it was before the age of 25, to be honest with you. It was before the age of 25, I wanted a solid foot in the door with an NFL team. Now, this happened to be the year in which the NFL lockout was going on, which was the longest work stoppage in NFL history, right? So there were things that were happening in my time of graduation that were going on that made me want to take initiative, want to do something that was going to help a league that clearly needed innovation. They needed things going on. They needed new ideas, new, fresh, bold, aggressive ideas, because there was clearly a disconnect between the owners, players, coaches, and things were just kind of all over the place, right? So what happened was I started my first company, gym44.com, which, by the way, is still in the works. It's just I have to be in a situation where I'm educating people on the type of thinking, because Gym 44 was like a way advanced way of thinking. So I personally needed to be in a situation where I'm educating folks on this type of thinking, which is why I had to put it on the side while I become like an online presence and all that, which is what inspired a lot of the things I'm doing now, right? So anyway, what happened with the Ocean City Sharks, and the goal was to create opportunities for players that were trying to get into the league. I saw my lane. I saw the fact that there were players that were trying to get to the league. I mean, some of my closest mentors, some of my closest friends were guys that had tried out in the Arena League and didn't get their fair shot because the Arena League was such a horribly run business, and they had to work as trainers. I saw myself as somebody that could fill that void because of not only my college experience, but also the experience and the things I was doing as a scout and the things I was doing in the fitness world. So it was like, look, if we just get them all to one gym, then boom, there's opportunity. So had I been patient enough and just stayed with that, then, the whole idea of the Ocean City Sharks probably would have never hit me, or would have never been something I pursued so aggressively. But I did. And what ended up happening is I went after it too early. I literally quit my job. I was working at a gym. I literally quit my job because I had that much confidence in the fact that the idea was going to take off, that the idea was going to, make me whatever amount of money I needed. And the reason this happened is because I took trips. I was living in Silver Spring. I was living in my parents' house at the time. I would take trips to Silver Spring. I would take trips from Silver Spring to Ocean City. I would go meet with people. I would talk to them about the idea. They would love it. That gave me the confidence. In fact, I will never forget. Listen, let me see if I can pull this up. If they're still around, because I'm pretty sure they are. Del Marva Shortboards. Yeah, that's it. Del Marva Short. This team right here. Look, let me tell you, this team. This is crazy that I'm recalling this whole process right now. So I literally. Okay, it was after I quit my job, and I get into this huge argument with more in particular, I got into an argument with my father, and then after, my mother took me to breakfast, and we drove right to Ocean City, and we saw this team. This was the vision I had for the Ocean City Sharks right here. If you're looking at this visually, I pulled up the Shorebirds, the Delmarva Shorebirds. Yeah, Delmarva Shorebirds, which is basically a minor league team for baseball, like a farm league, a farm system, a farm team for baseball. I believe the affiliate is, if I'm not mistaken, the affiliate is the Orioles, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check real quick. I believe the affiliate is, the Orioles. Yeah, they're the affiliate for the Orioles. And I remember driving to on the way to Ocean City, and my mother seeing that and pointing it out, like, look, it's already in place. The vision, the thing I want to build is already in place. It just so happens I want to do it in football. I mean, they have the stadium, all of that stuff. So we do that. I set up a meeting with them. After I set up a meeting with them and I walk them through everything I'm trying to do, and they're just like, look, good luck. If you need the stadium, it's going to cost this. They basically just kind of walk me through what it takes. Then I drove another 30 minutes and I just walked the Ocean City Strip, and, I met this one, met that one, got names, just did everything I could. And then, like I mentioned in the article, I actually found the college campus, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which let me look them up to see if they're still around. Of Maryland Eastern Shore Football Club. Let me see if they still have it. Let's see. I don't think so. The University of Maryland Eastern Shore, they didn't have a football team on campus, but they did have a club team. They had a club team. I'm not sure if the club team is still around. Let me see. The club team might not be still around. But anyway, this is stuff I was doing, man. I went to the University of Maryland. Let's see if they still have it. I think they have some. Let me see if the passes on. Oh man. So yeah, this is the University of Passes on restarting intercollegiate football. Right. So what happened was I met up with people that have tried to start like semi-pro teams in Ocean City and stuff like that. And I was looking for a location because at this point I had already created a way to find the players and all that. So I just needed a location. And they told me, hey, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, they have a college campus, they have a field, they're not even using it. I go there, I meet up with the person, he goes, look, you can use the field for free. All this stuff was set. Now, my mistake was when I started promising money to the players, because when you look at the idea and you listen to the idea and you listen to the feedback of the idea, it sounds like something that players should be getting paid for. This is sounding like an actual minor league team, a feeder team. So because of that feedback, I made the mistake of promising money, and I wasn't even paying. I wasn't even considering how I was going to pay myself. I swear, I wasn't even considering how I was going to pay myself. I just had that much confidence, and I was so pumped about creating the idea. And again, as you can hear, there was nothing wrong with the idea. This is why I tell you, when it comes to systematizing your business, and you're going to see why this is important as we get to reason number 5, is when you fail early and you fail often, you fail without shame. All of these little experiences are going to help create a system for you as you move forward. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. Yeah, your credit's gonna be in the shitter. Yeah, you're gonna be broke. You're gonna have to. It is a pride sucking thing, all right, that you're gonna have to go through. But when you look at it on the back end and you see when we get to reason number 5, you're gonna start to see, man, this is how these things get into work. This is why I went through whatever it is I went through, so I can now see things from this perspective. And then if something comes up, I would have known, oh yeah, I tried that, I failed at that, and I failed because of this particular reason, because of X, Y, Z, and you'll know it specifically. And that brings me, again, this was part of my bounce back story, brings me to reason number 2, which is, if you're not willing to develop in sales, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. If you're not willing to say, okay, hey, look, I took it on the chin. And by the way, it's important that you, especially for the young people listening to me, it's important that younger folks, if you have to embrace that failure, embrace those things, younger folks, because when you fail early, then you have opportunities to bounce back. Now, if you're in your 40s and your 50s and 60s and you're still failing at stuff and you're, again, then you got to consider your family and what you're doing and all that. But if you're a young college graduate like I was, hey, go at it. Do not let people suck you into a system too early and make it so you're so afraid of failure that you can't even take any risks. You can't even, follow your goals or follow the things that are on your heart. The next thing, and then because you will fail, I'm just telling you right now, it's going to happen. It's part of the process. The next thing you have to do is you have to develop these sales skills. You have got to. And I understand everybody, on some level, everybody hates sales, every single person, until you start selling the thing that you want to sell, right? Until you start making some money, until you start realizing how much money you're going to be making based on finding the right thing to sell to the right person. Then you're not going to hate sales very much. You're going to love it very, very much. So let's get into reason number 2. Developing sales skills. I'll read it on my own. I'm not a big fan of the way the medium people read it. So I'll read it on my own. So developing sales skills. Yes, even if you hate sales. After the collapse, I went home with no money, no car, no phone, just a college degree and no clue what was next. My mom, shout out to the real MVP. Shout out to moms, man. This just reading this actually is bringing back so many vivid, strong memories, and I'm so appreciative of her for doing this. But so my mom, she offered her car and support so I can get back on my feet. So let me flesh that out a little bit, because I want to make sure I'm clear saying this. When I say she offered her support, meaning she came into my room and she said, hey, son, look, even if you have to drop me off to work and then you take my car and then you go on job interviews while you drop me off to work, don't let nothing hold you back. That's what she did. That was her specific words. And I took her up on that offer. So I would drop her off to work and then I would use her car. Because again, mine was repossessed. I had no fun. I had nothing, absolutely nothing, flat broke. Okay. I dropped her off to work. I'd use her car. I'd go on job interviews. And within a week, I landed a job in LA Fitness that's in sales. Now, understand me, LA Fitness, the fitness world. I know what the fitness business is. As a matter of fact, let me just finish. Let me get through the whole section here. So offered her car and support so I can get back on my feet. Within a week, I landed a sales job at LA Fitness. I thought, and this is the way the interview went, folks, I thought selling gym memberships would be easy because I had a sports background. Nope. My manager quickly set me straight. He said, you're not selling fitness, you're selling to people. That lesson transformed my approach. Systems don't mean anything if you don't understand who you're selling to and why they buy from you. Systems don't mean anything if you don't understand who you're selling to and why they're going to buy it from you. Let me break this down. Let's break the whole thing down, baby. Let me break that whole concept down. All right. First day, it was the first day for the job interview in LA Fitness. Now, I'm coming in, there's a level of arrogance and cockiness because, again, I have a sports background. I just kind of I didn't let the Ocean City Sharks idea go. I really didn't. And to this day, I still really haven't let it go. I just think it's something that my name would need to be removed from, or I could do it in a different area, whatever it is. But it's pretty much the same thing that we're seeing in the UFL and all the other leagues, the ones that are failing so much, all the AAF and all that stuff, all those other minor league teams and leagues, organizations that failed. Easily, if they had me in the room when they were creating it, they wouldn't have failed so much because I would have suggested it the same way I'm suggesting it with the Ocean City Sharks. But again, that's another conversation. And you could look up my name and look up Feeder System, and you've seen how much material I've put out on this particular concept. But again, I'll digress on that. So I go to LA Fitness, right? And the person that interviews me, shout out to Dupree Major. Dupree says to me the first day, and the reason I'm shouting Dupree out is because he actually ended up becoming a VP. He was one of those that really sold a lot of memberships, and he was able to really do things the LA Fitness way, the corporate way. I mean, he would tell us all the time. By the time he was 25, he was making six figures just based on selling gym memberships from LA Fitness, right? So I walk in there and he pretty much asked me the questions that you would ask any potential sales associate. He goes, hey, how would you hit? I remember this one because he goes, how would you start a conversation with a total stranger to try to get him to the gym? I'm like, look, man, I play football, I'm sports, this, that, and the third. This is me. This is what I'm all about. This is what I'm all about. This is what I do. Okay, Dupree, this is what I do. And as I'm explaining it to him, he cuts me off. And he says, you're talking about selling to athletes. I'm talking about selling to people. I'm talking about people that are in a brand new area, your spouses that have been together for a while and, they're getting sick of each other. And now they need to find a right workout regimen. Somebody that is going through some domestic abuse situations, some people that are dealing with real life problems. How would you spark up that conversation and get them in the gym and, get those people or people that move to a new community, right? And they're looking to get on a fitness regimen. They're looking to build a community. They're looking to become part of some yoga classes, Zumba class, something, spin classes, whatever. I'm talking about those folks. And that conversation absolutely changed my life, absolutely changed every moment for me, because there was a point where I was developing as a good sales associate for LA Fitness. Now, brings me to this saying that brings me to number 3 is when you develop in sales, then stuff starts opening up for you because you get an understanding of what you want your long-term goals to be. All right. So this is what I mean when I say it moves in a process. When you develop in sales, the revelation happens in which you can make as much money as you want. Right. Doing this particular thing, developing in this particular skill makes it so whatever amount of you pick your price, whatever number or whatever amount of money you want to go and get in this world, you can go get it because you developed a seller's mindset. At the same time that you're developing this seller's mindset, then you start to get clear on what you want your long-term goals to be. I was not even considering, and I remember texting this to Dupree after a while, once I started to get some sales under my belt and start to get an idea of how the whole thing worked. And, you bring someone in and you walk them through the gym and then you tell them about this class, you tell them about this machine, you're really engaged with them and you're able to develop a level of communication through that, just walk around and touring the gym and all that. Once I realized I can do that, I said, look, I don't want to do it. I told them straight up, I don't want to do it, man. I mean, first of all, it was very rough in terms of the transportation because I would have, real quick, so that way you don't keep hearing that email sound. Let me close that window. I didn't have any transportation at that point. So, I'd have to have my mother drop me off in the morning and I'd stay at LA Fitness literally the entire day. The entire day I'd have to stay there until she get off to come pick me up because I was all over the place. But I was able to get up enough sales to be able to go and get a new phone and, be able to at least get mobile again and all that stuff. So as I was going through that process, I realized, look, it's just not something I saw as a long-term solution. And I wanted to get back into sports. Again, I didn't forget my goal, which was to be with an NFL team before the age of 30. At this point, I was 26. I turned 26 at this point. And yes, struggling fair, but still the goal for me to go work for an NFL team, even if I would have used the idea of the Ocean City Sharks, it was going to be something that I could use as a leverage point, as a talking point to get with an NFL organization. Because again, there was nothing wrong with the idea outside of the fact that I personally was doing things that I didn't need to be doing. I didn't need to be the one, dealing with the businesses and trying to get sponsors and all that kind of stuff. I just need to be the creator of it and delegate that part of the conversation, which again is why you develop in sales. you start doing these things better because your communication can get better. You won't walk into certain situations when you know, hey, I need to disqualify myself. I need to remove myself from this part of the business, allow somebody else who's more qualified to do it. I didn't know these things because, again, right here, this sales, developing those sales skills, that wasn't where it needed to be yet. All right. So that's number 2. And number 3, as I'm, transitioning number 3, when you do that, boom, you get clear on your long-term goals. This is huge. This is absolutely huge because you don't want to be in a situation where you're moving in a direction where you're not getting closer to that long-term bigger picture, that bigger goal that you may have. If you don't have an idea on what your long-term goal is, you will not make it. All right, so let me let that part of the article play.
Now trust. 2.
Oh, wait, hold up. No, right. Let me read it. I'll read it. Get clear on your long-term goals. Okay, so sales taught me about people, but I still needed a why. Yeah, so here's what happened. I'll break it down after I read it. I realized my passion was still rooted in football, fitness, and education. So I took a leap, drove 16 hours from Maryland to Florida with no job, no networking, no backup plan. But I had a vision, build something from the ground up. The vision gave shape to my business systems. It gave every email pitch and a strategy and strategy a direction. Systems only work when they're driving you towards something meaningful. Okay, so here's what happened in a nutshell. When it comes to LA Fitness, again, I really started to, detach from it because I didn't like the ethical ways in which they went about selling memberships. This was a corporate gym that is only looking at a system. They are not at all giving a shit about its people. They're not giving a shit about its members. They don't give a shit about the people that work there. LA Fitness does not give a shit about anybody, anything but what they can see on a screen and the spreadsheets that they see on a screen. In fact, I remember getting in trouble one day because, I was making calls, but every single call needs to be logged. So they got to log. If I make a call, you got to log the call in the system. And because I never logged those calls in the system, it looked like I never made any calls. So the only thing that the manager saw was the fact that he looks at the system and he goes, look, he didn't make any calls, but I saw him making calls. You know what I'm saying? So the only thing LA Fitness cares about, they are so damn corporate, it's ridiculous. It's anyone that's ever worked at LA Fitness understands exactly what I'm talking about. So again, I didn't like that. I couldn't stand it. It was something, again, for me, the passion of fitness. One of the things that really, really turned me off is when I remember I was in the middle of a sale and the lady had mentioned something about needing surgery, and the manager was behind me and he was helping me out kind of with the system. It was one of my early sales. And she goes, I need surgery. And immediately he goes, you don't need the surgery. Stop it. You don't need it. Stop. Like he didn't get any details, didn't get anything, didn't get a diagnosis. The only thing he knew is that if she says she needs a surgery, it could potentially stop her from joining the gym. So immediately he tells her, you don't need it. Like, what kind of unethical bullshit is this? This is the kind of person that gets promoted. I'm just telling you the truth, man. This is the kind of person that got promoted into a VP position. So as I was seeing that future, I said, look, I don't want anything to do with this corporate bullshit. Like, I'm always going to be passionate about fitness. I'm always going to be passionate about, working out, keeping your body right. But I don't want to have to stoop this low. Stoop this low to tell people they don't need damn surgery, especially someone who's lived through a surgery my damn self, right? I don't want to be the person to do that. That's wrong. That is absolutely wrong. Right? It's wrong. So what happened was I switched positions into a lesser position. It was like more of a part-time position as a sports director. And then I was a sports director, and then I worked at a lady. Actually, it was a lady Foot Locker because I wanted to figure out ways in which I could pull people in, like connect some sort of a sports way. I wanted to learn about like shoe brands and shoe companies and a lot of the ones that really sponsor a lot of these events. So I'm like, all right, so I can create something between, the Foot Locker world and the sports director world where I'm create leagues and stuff like that. I wanted to kind of be in that space, right? So all in all, again, goes back to reason number one, fail off in Fairlily. That just kind of fell through, right? And then there was several other gyms that I worked at in sales and all that. A lot of this stuff was happening in Maryland. I was kind of bouncing around and all that. And then it was one day that was just, I mean, again, I'm still carpooling. In fact, no, my mother had actually got a new car. So I was able to take her old one, which broke down. Actually, that one broke down on me in the middle of the street. And that one had to be, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we actually had to total that one too. So I was really, really mad. I mean, I had issues. I was in a real shitty place. Trust me. The person you see now, you know, the one that's able to speak confidently and talk and all that. Listen, it came from a shitty place. Actually, just last week I was talking to my lady, my woman, right? And she asked me the question. She goes, "What has rock bottom been?" And it's funny because we were on the phone. I'm like, man, look, you have no idea. But she got like, you know, she gets snippets of it this weekend when I saw it. But listen, rock bottom, and you really never leave. But no matter how much money and much success you really have, that feeling of hitting rock bottom, that feeling is never really off of you. You still like really can vividly remember those lows, and they are low. They're low. All right. So anyway. It was another one of those overnight shifts that I was working at another gym, and it's cold. It's Maryland. I mean, the snow's coming down, and it's like I am absolutely exhausted in terms of just the area, the state. You know, again, I love my city. I love Maryland with all my heart. It's my city. It's where I'm from. It's what I believe. It's everything I known as a kid. But I'm like, I got to get out of here. I just got to leave, man. I got to go leave and make something. I got to go leave and make my city proud because I just can't do it in the city anymore. I'm not in the right headspace. I need something new. At that point, I had seen so much. And I played football for 2 programs. I played for a really nationally known program, high school and youth program that we travel all over the world. I had a bigger vision than what was available to me. So I just said, look, I'm young enough. I'm 26 years old. At the time, I'm 26 years old. I was coaching high school football and I had to finish out the season. So let that season finish out. And I just drove to Florida. I got no job off the year because my dad had just got a new car. So I was able to take his old Benz and I just drove. I drove to Florida. I had a contract that had been through with FBU, and FBU has their main event in Naples. And they were marketing Florida throughout the entire, all the like the games and stuff, like all the practices and tournaments and stuff like that. And I said, you know, Florida, fitness, football, South American women. Yes. Oh yeah. Like that just sounds like some aspect like that. That sounds absolutely beautiful right now. So, you know, that last football season, I believe it's 2016, I just said, look, I'm going. I was telling people, look, I'm out of here. I am out of here. I don't give a shit. I am moving to Florida and hitting that reset button. And that's where the long-term plan, like I was actually talking to my boy, shout out to Omar during that time a lot. And he knows all about relocating. You know, he relocated from Detroit to Maryland. So as I was kind of chatting with him, he was telling me, yeah, when it comes to relocating, you know, the long-term planning is actually the easy part. The just getting to where it is you're trying to be, getting where you at, getting, you know, taking that opportunity, whatever the opportunity is going to be, getting there. That's the hard part, right? So when I got to Florida, again, had no offer, had nowhere to stay, had no job, no one, knew no one. The part of Florida I was living, I knew absolutely no one. And again, went back to what? Number one, fail early, develop in sales, because the first job I got a job within the first maybe week of me, not even a week, maybe a couple of days of me being in Florida. I got a job as a sales associate at Orange Theory Fitness. So as that happened, I was meeting other people in that industry that also had their experiences with LA Fitness and was going through this and going through that, all sorts of things. And I started to see my tribe. I started to, you know, get clear on what it is I was wanting to do. And then that's when the Miami Dolphins Foundation offered me a position. It was a part-time position. I moved from St. Petersburg to South Florida, and everything that I wanted to do back in Maryland in terms of connecting a NFL team with a fitness franchise, I was able to do in Plantation, Florida with the Miami Dolphins and 9-round kickboxing and fitness. I was able to merge those two worlds, and things started to really make sense. My lane started to get a whole lot clearer. All right. So that was getting clear on your long-term goals. And then, so what starts to happen is when you're on this mission, again, we're breaking down the top. By the way, like, comment, share this video, like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Pass it along to anybody who needs it. Today, we're actually discussing the top five ways to systematize your business. Number 1, fail often, fail early, fail without shame. Number 2, develop sales skills. Number 3, get clear on your long-term goals. And now we are breaking into number 4, which is now there's going to come a time where you have to test the systems in real time. You have got to test out your systems. You got to test out your system, and you're going to see why at this stage I said failing early, failing often, and failing without shame is so key. Because when you test these things out, when you put a system together, when you put an idea together, you put a campaign together, you put a post together, you decide you're going to write a book or put a podcast out there or put out something, some service, some offer, something. Now you got to test systems to see what's actually going to work. All right, in real time. In fact, I'll never forget when I first wrote my first book, Swiftly. I actually had this idea of, okay, I'm going to pick a nonprofit every month, and I'm going to donate portions of the sales to a nonprofit every month. And I would call these nonprofits and I would try to generate some sales. Again, this is me testing the system. That didn't work, but it's me testing it to now, okay, that didn't work. Let's figure out something else, right? So let me read number 4, and then we'll dive into it. So number 4, test the systems in real time. Once I got to Florida, I started showing up on camera, online, and in rooms where I had no business being yet. I paid for coaching to expose my blind spots. I studied my content to see what was resonating. I tested what offers worked, what pitches flopped, and what needed tweaking. You don't need a perfect system. You need a version 1, then test, tweak, and repeat. Test, tweak, and repeat. Test, tweak, and repeat. Test it out. What's going to work? You know, have somebody that you know check that out. And I'll never forget, actually, let me get some water real quick. Yeah. One of my boys, actually, Taj. Shout out to Taj. I think it was him who he runs his organization. It's called Thrive After Sports. Yeah, Thrive After Sports. Shout out to Taj. He actually wrote the forward for my second book, Make Your Move. Let me show you guys real quick. Taj Deshawn wrote the forward for my second book, Make Your Move. Shout out to him. So he has this practice that he does that he takes somebody that you know, and he says, look, I think I could be getting this wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard it from him first. Excuse me. But he'll have it to where you go and reach out to somebody that you know well, and you ask them something along the lines of, what are the 3 areas that you see strengths in me? What are the areas that you see that I can get better at, or something along those lines? And I'm bringing that up because of what I said here, where it's you need to test, tweak, and repeat. What pitches work, what they flop, what needs tweaking. Show up on camera, be online, develop a presence in which if someone wanted to get to know you, they can look you up, there's something that you can send somebody that you can get some feedback on, and you can figure out ways in which the work you're putting out there, how it's touching people, how it's resonating with people, how it's getting people better. What are they liking? What are they not liking? All of these things need to be tested, and they need to be happening daily. All right. They need to be happening daily, because what happened in my own life. What actually started to happen is when I was working these positions at 9 Round, I was working this position at 9 Round, and I'm working this position with the Miami Dolphins Foundation. I was seeing so much of a connection. I was seeing so much of a connection. It just so happened that the people I was dealing with, kind of the upper management that I was dealing with, they didn't care about that stuff. They just simply cared about, like, they were very corporate folks. The same way it was at LA Fitness. The only thing they care about was, oh, well, how do I get help? But how does that help? Me. And ultimately, one of the gym, the 9 Round, is no longer in business. And the person who hired me to work for the foundation, he's not even in with the organization anymore. And like all of that comes from the fact, like, I could have told you that was going to happen. I could have told you that these things were going to happen, because they never really looked at us as the people that were trying to create ideas. They never looked at us as a resource per se. So it's important that you got to test out the system in real time, because you're going to learn more about people. Now, I don't say, oh, well, 9 Round went out of business as a negative thing, or, the person who hired me for the Miami Dolphins Foundation. I don't say it as a negative thing. I say it as, that was the test. That was the test. Now I see what real leadership looks like. Now I see what a person who calls themselves a leader, that is not what it is they need to be doing. I learned that along the way. That's the test. Morning, guys, morning. And when you do these things, when you make sure you're testing these systems, then you get better. That's the way it should work. That's the way it's going to happen. All right. So that's number 4. And number 5, big one, number 5. Here it is. Boom, 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 boom. Let the system work for you. Okay. When you've lived through enough. Okay. I'm going to go back more. Some of the kids are coming through, but so some of my students are coming through, and they're saying they always see me recording them. Like, this is what I do. Right? So anyway, let's go back to number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. By the way, like, comment, share, subscribe, review, leave a comment, do some, just tell me what you picked up on this, what was good, what was bad, whatever it is you need to say. Make sure you do that. So we're on number 5. We're breaking down the top 5 ways to systematize your business. And number 5 is, you got to let the system work for you. This is where this is the magic moment. This is where all the failure, all the calls, all the things that you've been through, everything that you've actually lived through for your business, this is what you do it for, is when you start letting the system work for you and work for you and work for you. That's when you can let it go. You can let it go. You've pleaded, you've tried, you busted your behind, and you deserve success. You deserve it. That's when you can do it. Let it go. I'm gonna read it to you guys. So, letting the system work for you. Eventually, the process starts to flow. You find your rhythm. Your calendar gets cleaner. Your client acquisition becomes predictable. You stop hustling for every single sale, and the right people begin to find you. But that doesn't happen without the grind, without the rebuilding season, and without trusting the earlier steps. The system won't save you, but it will sustain you, especially once you've been battle tested. Woo! What's up? I'm telling you, when the system starts working for you, this is the energy you get. What's up, Jada? This is what it's all about. Oh, man. I'm telling you, when the system starts working for you, it makes you scream. Come on, somebody. And everything. Again, just look at my story. Look at what I had to live through, from the failing with the Ocean City Sharks, trying to do this. And, again, my reputation completely tarnished with the people that I thought I wanted to serve. Then developing in sales at the LA Fitness, and, hey, look, this is unethical stuff. This is stuff I don't want to do. Then finding out what area works for you, where your long-term goals are going to be. being in Florida, you know, again, an area that's known for its football, its fitness, and obviously, you know, when it comes to me meeting someone that hot South America, yeah, you know, Hispanic women, that's me. You got to sell yourself when it comes to that too, right? You got to sell yourself. Then you test it out. You put your YouTube videos out. You put your podcasts out. You put your books out. You do all of that, and then your system starts working. It becomes automatic. It becomes automatic to the point where you don't even feel like you're selling. You're just allowing your system to work for you, and you're just introducing yourself to people, and you're just rolling. You're just rolling. You're just rolling. Your system has got to work for you. All right. Let me give you the final word of the article. I didn't write this from a place of arrival. I'm still building, but I'm with systems, not just energy and vibes. All right. Let me read it again. I'm gonna make sure I read it nice and slow. Hear me. Hear me. Hear me, hear me, hear me very, very closely. Didn't write this from a place of arrival. I am still building, but I'm building with systems, not just energy and vibes, not just energy and vibes, actual systems in place, actual things that are happening, actual systems in place that are meant to do a specific thing. You reach out because you are specifically looking to gain a client to host workshops. There's specific. So you hear me every single morning. It's a specific person I'm looking to work with. Business owners of 20 or more employees that want employee development workshops and see value in what the work it is I do and what the result can be. Okay. It is. Didn't write this from a place of arrival. I'm still building, but I'm building with systems, not just energy and vibes. If you're feeling overwhelmed in your business, start these 5. And if you're in the middle of your own Ocean City Shark story, keep going. One day that failure will be the system that holds everything together. Now you guys see clearly why I said number 1, fail early, fail often, fail without shame. Because by the time it gets to the point where the systems are working for you, those failures and those things that you actually live through are going to be the things that are tweaking and making it so that system that you already created, it's working because you saw, hey, I tried doing that. I knew that failed. Let me just step in here and stop this madness. Let me step in here and stop doing certain things because I know that that's it. And I'll give you a perfect example, because one of the things me and a good friend of mine that works here at the school with me is he attempts to do, and he's, you know, very passionate about helping young football players and young athletes and all that too, as I am, is he had made the suggestion of, you know, maybe doing some sort of recruiting service where we're doing things where maybe charging the parents for a way of getting in front of colleges, or a way of getting in front of, you know, basically a recruiting service. I mean, there's tons of them out there, right? So again, because I had already been there and done that, and I tried doing this and I tried doing that with camps, I'm never going to tell someone not to try, but because I did it, I was able to say, hey, you may not want to do that, because then you're going to run into a specific Ocean City Sharks problem where you're going to do what you have to do for a player, and the player's not really going to appreciate it, or you may not have the resources to help this player right now. And then ultimately your reputation could be ruined because you get blinded by your own ambition. That is the key of, you know, again, failing and then eventually getting to the point where your systems are working for you. So that's all I got today. Tomorrow we're diving in. Tomorrow we got another Wintrepreneur Wednesday. So we'll be diving into Kevin Plank's story with Under Armour. So stay tuned for that. Again, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, share this out, do whatever you have to do. I am here Monday through Friday breaking down these live streams. Also, we have film session Saturday. We do that every single Saturday. We're breaking down college football games, and then Stay Hired Sunday with my good friend Kimberly Blue, the HR expert. So 7 days a week, I'm on here. 7 days a week. There's something new happening 7 days a week. We do not stop because the systems are working. The systems are putting the systems to work, and that I gotta, you gotta back it up. You can't just talk about it. You gotta actually be about it. All right. So all that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm doing, makeyourmove.com. That's makeyaMove.com. As you can see, you can shop, you can join the Patreon, you can book me to speak, or just simply learn more about Aswan, and you can also listen to the Move Swiftly podcast, all on that one website. Everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon. Whew.